Dr. Garcia has been practicing and building the body of knowledge surrounding biomagnetism for over 15 years.
Most people have bought into the system of for every ill, there's a pill. In my world, for every health complaint, there's a pair of magnets that will help alleviate that.
Can you explain to our audience what it is that you do?
All right, so you know who's with us this morning to help us get moving. We have fitness expert Tracy Anderson.
Tracy Anderson.
Tracy Anderson. I'm so grateful to her.
Dr. Luis Garcia, one of the most difficult doctors to get into that I've ever experienced. And I still haven't been able to get in, but I'm going to.
Yes, you will.
I became fascinated with your work because my extraordinary mother-in-law, who takes such natural, holistic care of herself, has the most calm, elegant, graceful presence. And you are one of her doctors. So she would say, I'm going to my magnet doctor, right? And I'm like, what is the magnet doctor? I started asking her questions about your work, and then I looked up your work. So I learned about you through her, and then I researched. Can you explain to our audience what it is that you do?
I do something that's called biomagnetism, and so it involves the use of magnets that I have right here. And so they come in different shapes and sizes. By simply placing these magnets on the body, utilizing the magnetic fields, you can restore the body's own energy balance, specifically the pH. And so pH stands for hydrogen potential. It tells us if something is acidic, alkaline, or too basic. Even though we cannot see the magnetic fields that these emit, when we've played with magnets and you have magnets of the same energy, it repels it, right, or the opposites will attract. And so when you place magnets on different areas of the body, it will move hydrogen protons around and restore the balance to that organ, to that area, to that space.
I remember as a child I loved to play with magnets. Did you love to play with magnets as a child?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was attracted from a very young age. Right. I didn't know why.
I didn't know why either. I mean, I certainly didn't take it where you did. I just came off of a Vitality Week where people come to move with me from all over. And I was trying to explain to a lot of the participants about your life force and how you can't see some things that are so important to the management of your own energy or your ability to actually expand, be dynamic, actually incorporate more of who you are, more of your muscles, let things stretch and go and be more whole. But it's very real. How much of it for you is tapping into some kind of, it's all energy, right?
Absolutely. The whole reason that we eat is to acquire energy. Right. And so, yes, that's energy in the form of glucose that everything ends up converting into sugar, simple sugars that our body then breaks down into ATP energy. However, we live on planet Earth, which has its own magnetic field, its own energy. And so plants, animals, human beings require the magnetic fields to survive. And so you cannot isolate a human being inside something that's called a Faraday cage, where all the electromagnetic fields are eliminated, because the human body will start to break itself down. And so that's one of the issues that astronauts have had to overcome in outer space, and hence all of these space shuttles have been equipped with magnets everywhere, so that they're still exposed to the magnetic fields despite leaving Earth's magnetic field. And right. So when you surround your body with magnets, when you either place magnets on your body on a daily basis, or drink magnetized water, or incorporate grounding mats, you're exposing yourself to the magnetic field by walking barefoot on the ground, on the grass.
Our modern environment today.
Unfortunately, our modern environment is toxic. Absolutely. It's very toxic, and it creates an imbalance in our body's energy, whether it's the 5G antennas or the Wi-Fi in our homes, the LED lights, the smart homes, the cameras everywhere. Everything is giving off that invisible radiation that ultimately affects our body, our cells, our skin, our energy.
Can we just pivot a little bit to the health practitioner that you are? If someone is going to be lucky enough to get an appointment with you, can you walk me through what that appointment
Absolutely.
looks like?
So for the first 10, 15 minutes, I get to know what your health complaints and issues are. And I've already started creating in my mind an idea of where your imbalances are. Mm-hmm. However, I go through a list of points in the body. I scan the body from head to toe using a muscle testing technique where I can physically place a magnet on areas of your body, and then I go to your legs and I observe how the legs respond. Wow. And so wherever there's inflammation or there is a pH imbalance, there will be a muscular contraction. Wow. And so I then bring the legs together and I can observe that. I can also do it in the arms. The individuals will notice that physically one arm becomes shorter than the other. It's not a physical malformation, it's just a muscular contraction. Of the ligaments, tendons, muscles.
It's the body reacting.
It's the body reacting to the magnetic field that's placed on that area. So, for example, if I wanted to drain my lymphatic system, I could place a magnet in a certain position, and then I would observe my arm length. And if one arm was shorter or contracted versus the other, it would identify that my lymphatic system could use a tune-up or a balancing. And so I would then place the equal and opposite magnet on the other side, and that would bring things back into balance. And so based on where I place the set of magnets, the pairs of magnets, that creates the balance and adds energy back into the system.
It's amazing. You're just this conductor.
And it's all about simply restoring the body's own natural, healthy balance back. And so when you do that, the body knows innately what to do with that excess energy. And so ultimately you end up peeing out the excess toxins. This promotes a very interesting detox effect where your bladder becomes filled quickly and you end up urinating often after the session. It moves everything through. It starts flushing.
Right.
And so just like acupuncture, where there are thousands of points on the body that you can place a needle, there are also thousands of points on the body that you can place a magnet.
I was just going to ask you how this differs from acupuncture, or is it something... I don't do anything to my body other than move it. But I'm so intrigued. So how does this differ from acupuncture?
The main difference is that this works based on the body's response to the placement of the magnets. So acupuncture is something that has been around for over 5,000 years. Over generations, you place a needle here because it represents this energy meridian. And so because this represents fire, you want to counteract that with water on the opposite meridian. And so there are very specific points that resonate due to the Chinese energy system. And so with biomagnetism, it's all based on how the body reacts. The individual.
It's about the individual.
And so, yes, there are common points to everyone. However, ultimately, every individual has their own unique set of energy imbalances in the body based on the foods you eat, based on your emotional state.
Your stress, I was just going to say. It can
Absolutely.
Be, once you see a patient initially, do you give them homework?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
So, excellent. I often, back in the day when I didn't have such a long wait list, the optimal situation is to see them about every 3 weeks until they recover their health to a point where you can see them once a month or every other month or every 3-4 months. And so as they get better and their body recovers, well, you see them less and less. And ultimately, my goal is to teach them how to heal themselves. And so just like a nutritionist recommends, the proper food and diet, well, the idea is to stop needing a personal trainer and do it on your own.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, people need more motivation than that.
Right.
And so that's why I've also written a book, developed an app. I've created an online course, an in-person course to try to
empower people.
Teach and empower people to take control of their own health and their own lives.
Yeah. I love to choreograph dynamic, natural movement to continue the conversation of movement in the body. But I never want to know more about moving in your body than you know about moving in your own body. Like, it's just, to me, and people should understand this life force, this energy that they have. And they should understand what that energy is living in, the environment that it's living in right now. Because people don't exercise, they don't do these things before they go and get a prescription for things.
Correct.
Right.
And so unfortunately, most people have bought into the system of, for every ill, there's a pill. In my world, for every health complaint, there's a pair of magnets that will help alleviate that.
Wow.
And so if you're suffering from insomnia or having sleep issues, well, what's going on inside of the brain that has been thrown off? So it's not about, taking another pill. It's about reducing the inflammation and restoring the balance to the brain in terms of what set that off in the first place. Right. In the same way that if you have a headache, unfortunately, everyone wants to lower the volume or mute it by taking something. Yeah. And so what about, looking within and identifying that, unfortunately, this person, from so much stress, they've lowered their immune system and they've caught, say, Epstein-Barr virus, which creates mono. And so mono creates chronic fatigue, headaches, and you name it. Through the use of the magnets and this therapy, you can identify that that individual is suffering from a lot of stress, that their immune system is lower, and you can stabilize the pH in different areas of the body so that it is inhospitable for that virus to survive. Wow. And so just like exercise is so healthy for individuals by maintaining an increased immune system, by increasing circulation. Right. And
magnets even the way
can do
that
the
the
same.
Muscles will produce glutathione and all these things that are like so great if you use them, and if you use this, it will do so much. What about anxiety?
Anxiety also occurs from stress, but also different infections that are affecting the brain. And so there are viruses, there are fungal infections that will affect and cause inflammation to the brain. So if you identify and you place a magnet in a certain position, and then you observe what occurs with the legs, that will identify either there's an emotion involved, there's an infection involved, there's something extra going on, and so you have to find where to place the corresponding magnet to stabilize the pH and restore balance back and let the body heal itself. It's kind of like a swimming pool. And so kids can pee and poop in the pool as long as you're adding chlorine and sodium bicarb. The pool will take care of itself. Right. And so everyone can go swimming the next day as long as you maintain that stable pH. Right. The body will heal itself if given the right conditions.
Beauty for me is everyone being their individual self, but being as vibrant and healthy as you can make that home that you live in. That's really what's so beautiful. So fine, body brush, but don't body brush without doing your magnets, right?
Absolutely. And like the commercial says, don't leave home without them.
Yeah.
Because you never know when you're going to need them at a moment's notice for anything.
What about flying? Do you wear them when you fly?
Yes, I do.
Right. And it doesn't mess with the airplane.
Not at all. And there's no issue taking them through TSA. But ultimately, flying, there are certain protocols that I use when flying and other protocols to help with jet lag. Because you've just changed time zones, X amount of hours. And so your brain is still set in one particular sleep mode. So you can use the magnets to reset that and help yourself out with the jet lag. My wife and I have 2 girls, and from the moment she was pregnant, I was placing magnets on her. And so in order to help maintain her pregnancy optimal.
Amazing. And did she have good pregnancies?
Yes, she did.
That's
and
amazing.
So just like you want to recommend, to pregnant mothers to continue exercise until the very end, to maintain the good blood flow and maintain all those benefits.
I adjust things, but of course.
Correct, you make adjustments.
Just as you would, I'm sure. This is the longevity game.
Yes.
So in longevity, early detection and prevention is key. How do you feel that participates in the individual's ability to live to 110.
Using the magnets optimizes everything. And so it optimizes, say, your liver's ability to detox, brain's ability to function. So if you wake up one day and you're like, I feel a little brain fog, I'm more tired than usual.
Right.
Well, you can either visit a therapist or grab your own magnets, place them.
Because it just be inflammatory.
You wouldn't necessarily know what's causing the inflammation, but you start placing magnets on the head symmetrically and in certain positions, and they automatically increase circulation to the brain, facilitating more blood flow to your frontal lobes, temporal lobes, parietal lobes, occipital lobes, etc. And so all of a sudden you feel, wow, I just got an energy kick.
Right.
And so once again, depending on where you focus and place the magnets, it will have a certain benefit to you. And so in terms of longevity, who doesn't want to wake up feeling more energized? Who doesn't want to have a more restful sleep?
Yes.
Etc.
So
less achy and better digestion. And so there are protocols and placements of magnets for bloating, for inflammation of the GI tract, diarrhea. And so ultimately digestion in general,
gut health,
whether it's gut health, exactly, reflux, gastritis. You place the magnets in certain locations where there's inflammation. You confirm by observing a muscular contraction. When I discovered this in Colombia over 15 years ago, I took courses in Ecuador and then went back to Colombia and continued my medical practice there. When I first started seeing patients, I thought, let me test this on patients because I have a research background from college. I did genetic research, and so in the course, I learned that magnets could be used for urinary tract infections. So I said, all right, let me use, the magnets see how many women I can help with UTIs.
Right.
And so when the first few came to me, I said, okay, I know you have a UTI infection from your symptoms, but let me have you go to the lab, drop off a sample, come back, and then I'll place magnets on you. When the results would come back 3 days later, we could see and confirm if what I detected with the magnets was what was detected in the lab.
Correct.
And so when she would come back after dropping off the sample, I would place magnets on her body. And if I detected E. coli was the bacteria responsible for her urinary tract infection, lo and behold, after that day, her UTI would disappear. When 3 days later, the lab report came back and it said E. coli, I would ask her, how did your symptoms do after I placed magnets? And she would say, I felt amazing. I didn't need antibiotics. And I feel great. Not only did my UTI go away, but I'm sleeping better. I have more energy. My appetite came back. And so I did that over a dozen times. And if I detected protease bacteria or Klebsiella bacteria, that's what the lab report would show.
Wow.
And so I did that with ultrasounds, with CAT scans, with MRIs. Wherever I was identifying that there was inflammation, ultimately, in the ultrasounds, it was there.
The magnets didn't lie.
The magnets were identifying correctly those issues.
When you do that, though, I have so many people that come to me and they credit me for doing so many miraculous things for them. And I'm like, I didn't do this for you. You did this for yourself. I just gave you the human choreography, if you will, right? The tools, right?
Right.
But it's amazing the amount of openings that happen in people, the clarity, the feeling okay in their own home that comes from these things that are so built into us. Do you find that people come to you and they're just filled with gratitude?
Absolutely. And once again, I prefer to empower people.
I agree.
So that, you get up off the couch.
I don't believe in gurus. We all have this.
That inner guru. And so let's not count on our health being dependent upon someone.
Yes.
Let's be proactive and do something to help our body restore its natural energy.
To be a practitioner in this way is very rare, right?
Very rare.
Yeah.
Dr. Goyes is the original inventor of this over 30 years ago in 1988. And unfortunately, when he brought it forth to the Mexican authorities, because he was from Mexico, they rejected it instantly. And so They threatened his life and said they were not in agreement with it. And so he ended up going to Ecuador for a time, and he taught it down there. And that's where I learned it.
Thank you, Ecuador.
Yes, yes. And so upon learning it there, I was blown away. And one thing that occurred with me is that my entire life, my right arm was longer than my left. And so I asked my father, who was a medical doctor, when I was 15, and I realized that my arms were uneven. I said, Dad, am I going to need surgery for this? You know, what's going on? And he said, son, look, my right arm is longer than my left. It's a genetic trait. Your grandfather's was also longer. And so your sons or daughters will also have an arm that's longer or shorter than the other one. So just get used to it. It's genetic. There's nothing you can do about it. And then in my early 30s, when I learned about biomagnetism and I went to the course, Dr. Goyes, on the first day, he asked, who here has an arm or a leg that's shorter than the other one? I was the first one to raise my hands, and he said, come up on stage. I walked up, he placed 2 magnets on me, and my arms have been even ever since. Wow. And so all I had was a pH imbalance and acidity in the left shoulder that caused a slight contraction. And so my entire life, I was living and being a swimmer, a soccer player, an athlete with a contraction in the left shoulder that could have set me up for frozen shoulder, shoulder injury later on in life. And so just by using 2 magnets, it restored balance, loosened
where there
up
was imbalance.
Where there was imbalance.
My entire mission of my entire life's work is, I will chase it forever. That is to create balance where there's imbalance, because that's the daily.
Yeah.
Right?
And so my life personally changed forever from then on. And I thought, wait a second, if I was supposed to have something that was genetic, yet it's not, how many other genetic things are actually not genetic? In working with athletes, which you can relate to, they get injured, and so their energy is off in the ankle or in the shoulder or, you know, the wrist or whatever. Well, you can use the magnets to restore balance to that area and accelerate healing. And so in the wintertime, with my family, I love to go skiing, but I don't have time weeks before to increase my endurance so that, you know, I'm not sore the next day. But what I do is I'll go skiing Friday all day, and then I load up my muscles with magnets so that I'm flushing that acidity. And so immediately upon taking the magnets off, after 20 minutes or so, all of that soreness, that heaviness, that fatigue feeling is gone. Because I've just increased circulation to the area. I've restored balance, that I created the imbalance all day while skiing down the moguls and this and that. And so the next day I wake up and I'm refreshed in the legs. And so imagine doing that after a workout or after an event, this is very powerful and revolutionary.
We need to co-brand a post-workout magnet set with a little tutorial for sure, because I already want it. That's amazing. But also for the grounding and the centering. You know, I'm lucky I've never had any physical injuries, but so many people, they're not grounded in their center. And what's interesting is before this, Dr. Garcia did something very interesting with me. And I've got great balance. I am in heels, but still. He was pressing on the back of my hands like this, right? And he could make me shift back. He magnetized my coffee, and I took a sip and then had me do it again. And I was so stabilized that the same motion would not rock me backwards. I just felt the pressure of you. I felt the grounding.
You would have to work with the individual, and they would have to let their physician know that they're doing some alternative modalities to try to restore balance to their body, so that their physician understands, hey, can we start to taper down if I start feeling better? And yes, but that occurs over time.
With everything. Anything that's, it helps everything. Is there such a thing as too much magnetic energy?
So,
for me, there's too much exercise, or there's exercise that is.
In terms of biomagnetism, you can place as many magnets as you want. They're isn't such thing as too many.
Are
Only because
more powerful. Like if somebody had something that was very challenging, autoimmune or something like that, or just are there some cases where you're really like, it's like the more magnets, the better?
So I personally do not believe that you need, say, 5,000 Gauss magnets. These are all on the order of 1,500 up to 2,200 Gauss magnetic field strength.
Those are still pretty powerful.
These are powerful, and they're powerful enough to use on the body, but you really don't need anything more powerful than these. And so these are covered with a synthetic leather to protect the magnet so that when they snap together, they don't crack, and so that you can use them over and over and over again.
Are there any other things that you think that people should be doing holistically for longevity? Are there some non-negotiable kind of things that you think that people should be taking on a regular basis?
Yes. Fertilizers and the soil have contaminants in them. And so we need to look into detox. And so exercise is a phenomenal way to detox. Sauna is another great way to detox. Using the magnets is a phenomenal way to detox, but also taking certain detox supplements. I love glutathione, and I love something called DMSO. It stands for dimethyl sulfoxide. And so
I've never taken that.
it's a very pure form of sulfur. And so sulfur is in MSM, it's in glucosamine sulfate, chondroitin sulfate, it's in glutathione, it's in DMSO is in broccoli, asparagus, onions. Everyone knows all the benefits of broccoli and garlic.
Yes.
For the cardiovascular system, for inflammation, for so many things. And so sulfur is literally, think of the glue that holds our molecules together. And so it's an essential molecule for our body. So there are plenty of recipes out there of, drink or eat raw garlic every day and combine it with lemon juice and this and that. Well, you can take a teaspoon of DMSO either daily or every other day, or a tablespoon once or twice a week, and that will help your detox pathways.
Wow.
And so I've been doing that for many years.
Those are your two non-negotiables?
Yes. It's all about balance.
Yeah, I love the word. It's so misused and sort of like unromanticized it's become, but it is such an important word.
Yes.
Right?
Everyone loves to either be on this extreme or this extreme, but it's about coming together in the middle, and exercise is great, but there is such thing as too much. So,
but there's
bring
also,
it back.
we live in a world, and I think that this is what people always have to ultimately check for themselves when they have their hands on their own steering wheel. We are in a performance-based culture, and our bodies are meant to be much more quiet and calm and holistic. One of the favorite things that you said is get your feet on the ground and seek people that are seeking the truth and the power of what we can do for ourselves holistically. So where can people find you? Where can they get on your 6-month waiting list, which will now be easily 14 months?
They can find me on drgarciabiomagnetism.com. And all of my social media channels can be found there. Once again, I would love to empower people to learn this for themselves. Next time you get a headache, instead of reaching for the medicine cabinet, reach for a pair of magnets. See if that doesn't bring about change in your body. With biomagnetism, I feel that people learn to listen to their body more.
Yes, I think it would even make my practice, I think it would even make my creativity with what I do that much more powerful, because I'm so curious about teaching people how to manage their energy and utilize all these aspects of themselves in balance, right? Letting their soul speak, letting their mind speak, letting their intellect speak, that's why I don't speak to people. It takes them a long time to understand, why are you not instructing me? Why are you not telling me? Like, well, you are born to know how to mimic, because children mimic, and I want you to be in yourself, exploring the movement, because the truth is that we know how to move. We all know how to move.
After discovering this amazing world, I've never felt smarter, and my brain just active and ready, and I have energy throughout the day for, doing everything I want. And so people say, have you written a book, made an app, created an online course, created in-person courses? how are you seeing patients? How are you doing
Yeah.
all of these things? I'm like, because I have the energy to.
You have the energy. I love your passion. You can meet a lot of people that are promoting a lot of things that don't have the depth of passion and understanding. You were sold on these magnets with every fiber of your natural being so long ago. I wonder if we put a magnet in the My Mode staff, magnets in the equipment. We need to talk. We need to really talk. We're gonna magnetize everyone. You are such a joy.
Thank you very much.
I feel
Same.
so blessed that you paused your busy schedule to
My pleasure.
be introduced to our audience. Our audience, they are leaders. They are not afraid to grab the magnets before the other things and incorporate it into their life. They are hungry for this exact kind of way.
It's time this
Yeah.
became known.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
The world needs us. Actually, I got to watch Dr. Garcia place some magnets on some people that work with me before here, and I actually got tears in my eyes because these are the things that move me. If medicine is needed, and I'm sure as a doctor
There's a
too,
time and a
you're
place.
like, exactly, and these are the doctors that I lean into. Look, if we need to go there, we'll go there, but we don't go there right out of the gate.
I started off in that realm,
Mm-hmm.
and quickly, once I discovered this, I abandoned all that. So I know
That's
exactly what you're
powerful.
talking about.
That's
Yeah.
powerful. Thank you for doing that.
Thank
you
you.
for forging the path.
Thank you very much, Tracy, for having me. All right.
Amazing. You're so impressive. People are going to go bananas. I hope you have a lot of magnets.